All right, last week we start about the databases. So we talk about the database concepts, and we get to know what are the differences in between the manual database as well as electronic database. And we talked about the advantages of database, actually an electronic database. And then we talk about the features of the database. So in there we have learned about the redundancy, and we learn about that minimizing the redundancy will give us a higher data consistency, and it will increase the efficiency as well as the accuracy, and which will finally lead to the increase of validity, right? And we learn about the security can be provided through the electronic database in a very easy way. And then we compare the two particular types of databases, which is the manual database and the electronic database, right? And then I ask you to draw this particular picture right after we wrote about these three sentences. So we were here in the last week, when we are finishing the lesson, right? So if I recap the things over here, the introduction of the relational database. So the relational database means a collection of related objects, right? So in our terms, the collection of related object means here we are going to majorly concern about the tables, right? So collection of related tables can be simply identified as a relational database, all right? So later they have talked about how these things are being arranged, how the database are being addressed as a relational database by referring to these particular things, right? So they say a collection of fields related to one person or object is called a record, right? So this is a record that you can see, right? And a collection of records is called a data table. So yeah, here you got two records. So the collection of records will give you a data table. And finally, it says a collection of related tables is called a relational database. Yeah. So if you think about these two tables has records. So it has, like, together we can find a table. And that table is keeping the reference of the student and the people who borrowed the books, or about the people who have borrowed the books. They are keeping the relationship using this student number over here in this table with this student number, right? And here they have only mentioned you or show you just part of the table structure. As you can remember, in the very early pages we had all three tables, like here, right? So we can see like these three tables are related with each other. This student table is related with the borrowing table. Yeah, excuse me for that. I got a coughing condition, right? So these two tables, the student table and the borrowing table, is connected with these two field, right? So that's how it makes the connection: student number in the student table as well as the student number in the transaction table, right, or the borrowing table. And this book table, which contains the details of the books, are keeping the connection with this book number, right? So somehow these three tables are connected with each other, right? So that is what you call a relational database. So the connected, or the tables which are connected with the connected somehow, not we can't say connected with each other. A database or a table which have the relation with some other tables are called the relational database. Right. And yeah, here they are giving you some examples. So this is just for your knowledge. We don't need to write these things again and again, right? So when you need to collect some data, you can have this kind of an application to be filled by some particular personals, right? They will fill these things according to your requirement. So later, you can record these things in a one single table. But but when you are having it, when you're trying to have it inside a database or an electronic database, we won't be able to keep the data like this, right? So we will try to keep the data inside a table, something like this, right? So we can have these records arranged over here. Right, so in that manner, that data is being stored inside a table. Right, so these are the one that we highlighted early days as well. Right, the field names, records, columns, and we call it a data record, right, or a row. And it shows how the things are being related with each other. Again, for your information, so you know about these concepts, people. So I'm not going to talk about it much more further, right? Yeah, I'm coming to the concept called primary key. Let me see whether is there anything. Yeah, nothing to be written inside the example. Yeah, you know this already. People, excuse me for a moment. Yes, so we'll come to the concept. Yeah, we'll come to the concept called primary key. Now, when it comes to the databases, it's better we assign or like we decide a particular column, or in other words, a particular field or a collection of fields, which can identify a record uniquely, which we can name as a primary key, right? So when you are selecting a particular column as your primary key, so it should have data which is unique. That means you can't have duplicate values, right? As well as that particular column should not contain any empty cells or empty fields or empty places which does not have any value, right? So if any of your columns are having that kind of abilities or that kind of characteristics, we can consider them as a primary key. right? So as an instant, here they have given you the table. So it has accession number, title, author name, price of books, number of books. So accession number, it has 21, 31, 21, 32. So likewise, it continues. So if you think about these values, just this accession number column, you can see there are unique values, right? Nothing is being repeated, right? So that kind of column, or a particular, we call it a field, can be considered as a primary key field, or can be named as a primary key field, right? So we can't have the title as the primary key. But we can't have the title as the primary key. What should be the reason, people? We can't have the title field as the primary key field. Why we cannot have that? What should be the reason? Yes, people, any suggestions? Yes, why we cannot have the title as the primary key? Any guesses? You can just guess an answer, people. It should not be the very clear or the correct one.
The title might be repeated.
Yes. Can you find any repeating instances here, Dua?
Computer studies.
That's right. The computer studies one. Yeah, this is being repeated. Right. So if it needs to be a primary key, it should not have any duplicate values. So it cannot be. So the same reason goes here, right? See this Raj Sudhakaran, it is being repeated, right? And if you think about the price of the book, we are not taking price of the books as I'm sorry with my coughing condition, people. It's like we really don't take price of books as the we don't take price as a primary key, but anyway here we have duplicate values, right? So due to that we won't be able to. Again, number of books can be easily repeated, right? Even we got these two instances, which is 6. So again, if we want to choose something as a primary key, that column should has the unique values first thing, and it should not be empty, right? Data is mandatory on that field, right? So for here we can find accession number as the primary key. Here comes the composite primary key. Like composite means, now in early example we talked about choosing a primary key should be a one which is unique, which has unique value, as well as it should not be empty. If you think about this sport table, it has year, sport, captain, vice captain, right? So if we are thinking about a primary key for this table, definitely we can't take year. Is repeat in first 3 year column with first 3 records as well as the last 3 records. We cannot come up with this sport column alone. Again, there are many duplications. Regarding the captain, no, Jaliya, Saranga, they have been repeated. And not from the vice captain as well, right? So the Saranga has been repeated. So that means in this occasion, we don't have one specific column to be chosen as a primary key. So what we can do is we can make this a composite primary key. And we can try a composite primary key. So that should be what we call concentrated very carefully, whether this is going to have one particular primary key, or is it going to have like composite primary key, right? So here you can see, since we don't have any alternatives, we are going to merge the year and the sport together. Okay. Taken as a primary key, right? So together they are unique. You can't find 2013 cricket together at any other places, right? So that is what you call a composite primary key. Okay, people, is that clear? Everyone, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Right, great. So let's copy that down, right? So, yeah, you have given the introduction to relational database over here. You have written these 3 lines and draw the diagram. Rest things are like do not need to be bothered about much. Yeah, come and say the subheading primary key. And these 2 points as observations. Yeah, first of all, it's better you finish that out. Let me know when you're done, people. Okay, people, moving forward. Just let me know if anyone misses anything. Yeah, and yeah, as an example, hold on, let me see. Yeah, let's do it like this. Copy this table, just first three. Will it give us the chance just first three? No, it won't, it won't, it won't. Hold on, people, hold on. Yeah, anyway, since we are like get to know about this thing, we'll quickly copy the entire table down, right? So I can mark you the things, right? So quickly take down the table. Yes, people, are we done? Okay, anyone who is still writing this? Right. So moving forward, yeah, then we can go for the composite primary key. Yes, people, hold on. Before you move to the this topic, in this table, yes, Dulandi, no worries. You can refer the recording to her. Right. So before you move to the next topic, it's better you underline the accession number on this table, and you can put an arrow, right, and say like this, and say the primary key, right? Underline the accession number and put an arrow and say primary key. And then you can come to the composite primary key, and you can copy the highlighted area, and yeah, it's better we go with the table as well, right, as the example. So copy the definition and copy the entire table. I will move down after a little time. So for the moment, I'll keep it like this, right? Yep, sorry for that, people. I think somehow the screen got minimized. I'll move the screen a little bit upward. People, are we done? Okay, are we done? Anyone who is still writing this? All right, moving forward. Yeah, it's better you mention about these people. It's better you mention this as a composite key by mentioning both the year and sport are needed to uniquely identify a record. Okay, people, shall we move forward? Right. Okay, so the next concept is foreign key. Now, since you know about the primary key, it's easy to understand what do you mean by a foreign key, right? Primary key was defined as what? The key or a particular field which can identify a record uniquely. From this 100, we can identify this entire record. From this 101, we can identify this entire record, right? So that's why we call it a primary key. And when a primary key field is staying on another table as a normal field, right? So the registration number is here. The data is staying as 100 and 101. So the same field, the same kind of values are here in this column. The name of that field can be different, or it can come in the same way, right? But the values that we are recording are identical. So that means this registration number is representing the same registration number over here, right? So now for this table, for the student table, this column is a primary key. And since those values are stays on here as well, which is not a primary key, but we call it a foreign key. Because in this table, the subject table, the primary key is called the candidate number, right? But the relationship that we can see is the primary key of a one table stays inside another table as a normal field. So that normal field is called a foreign key. Are we getting this, people? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Right, great. Okay, so let's quickly write down about the foreign key as well. So foreign key, okay. So once you have written this, it's better you go with the two tables that shows the relationship of the primary key and the foreign key, right? So first write this, then you have to draw this table with the other table, right? So I'll scroll it up. You may finish this up first. All right, I'm moving this upward. So you may draw both the tables, name it correctly, highlight the primary keys and the foreign key as well. People, are we done? All right, moving forward, people, if you're writing still, you can sign me. Yes, it's better you write these special features of a foreign key. That will clarify the things regarding the foreign key as well. Yes, people, can we move forward? Are we done writing this? Okay.
Done, sir.
Right, great. So here we are going to the, yes, hold on. What they have listed out here? Mhm. Yes. So they have talked about some disadvantage of data duplication over here, right? So let me see why they have taken something like that up to here, this point. Yeah, so the next things are going to be the practicals of the database. So they may have like take an end by saying what are the disadvantage of data duplication. So now we have known these things earlier. We discuss about these things, right? So we just write down the points, right? So if the data is being duplicated, you won't be able to select a primary key field. That means if you can't select a primary key field, that means you can't create a foreign key field. That means no relations will be happen in between the tables, right? And we won't be able to analyze the data properly because it is being duplicated in many different places. We don't know which data is going to be the correct one. And reduce efficiency definitely, because it is very hard to find the accurate or the needed data since it is being duplicated in many places. And Possibility to get inaccurate data is high, yes, because as we experienced earlier in the last week, if the data is going to be stayed on different places, if you do some particular change, if you're going to do any particular change to that particular data, it needs to be happen in every place where the data is being recorded. So duplicating means you will be finding many different places with the same data. So if you're going to change, you have to do the changes for all the different places. In case if you miss a one or a couple, it's going to lead you to an inaccurate data, right? And difficult to input data, right? Because you won't be able to input data in an easy way because you have to input all the details into a one single table, as well as like it could be some data which has been already inputted, right? And a possibility to make errors in deleting data, definitely it goes with the updation part as well. Like if you have duplicate the data in several different places, if you are going to delete it, you have to delete all the places which is being duplicated, right? So it's difficult to delete, you have to find all the things, right? Like think about any particular name has been repeated for 100 times, right? So you have to seek 100 different places to delete the data, as well as it's going to be difficult to update a data, right? So let's write those things as the points, right? So have the heading saying disadvantage of data duplication, right? Then write only the key points, right? The things that I'm highlighting over here. People are moving forward a little bit, so you better write down the facts. Okay, people, are we done? Anyone who is still writing this? All right, moving forward. Yes, so then after, what we have to do is we are going to learn about how to create a simple database manually, right? Why we are going to identify or like to figure out how to create a manual database. like a database in a manual manner, because it will help us to create an electronical one with much helpful way, right? Or with much efficient way, right? Or improved way, right? So when we are creating a database, now you know database is a collection of table which has relations in between, right? They are related tables, and when some tables are related to each other, we can call it a database. So when we are creating the tables and like it means if we create the tables and if we relate them using the primary keys and foreign keys, that will enable us a database. So for that, first we have to figure out what are the things that we need to be considered when we are creating the tables. So we know when we are creating a table, there are columns. A column has a column name as well. So when you are planning a table, you should decide what kind of a name that you are going to give to that column name. Generally, we are not going to give very lengthy names as the column names, right? And very much importantly, we have to decide what kind of a data, or in database jargon, what is the data type of this specific field, right? So here they have given you some data types, which we are generally using in the manual databases as well as electronical databases, right? So the first one is called the numerics, right? So generally there are two types of numerics, which are integers and real, right? Integer indicates the whole numbers from minus infinity to the positive infinity. And the real includes the numbers with decimal values, right? Again, it's from minus infinity to the positive infinity. And you can find text type of data. So if you take a name, it's text type, right? If you take a particular NIC, even though it is create out of numbers, there is a one last character. So altogether, it's considered as a text. If you think about your identity card number, which is going to be there, it's going to be totally a numeric one. So you can go with an integer when you are dealing with your NIC because it is purely on numbers. But if you think about my identity card, it's something like this. So for my identity card, I won't be able to record that kind of identity card number under a integer data type or a real data type. Definitely not a real data type, under an integer data type. But your identity card number can be listed under the integers, right? And again, when it comes to telephone numbers, we generally type telephone numbers starting from a 0. In numeric values, if we say 07, I think you can remember what happens in the Excel. If you type 07, it just kept 7 only, right? So to maintain a 0 in front of it, we have to make that data into a text data, right? And again, sometimes we use these kind of hyphens, and sometimes we use spaces in between the letters, in between the numbers to recognize the telephone number easily, right? Since those characters are being used, telephone number is also taken as a text type data, all right? And there are moments that we have to store currencies in different currency types, right? And date and time, there are occasions we have to record the date, where we have to record the time, right? The very simple example is date of birth, right? And the time, it can be arrival time, departure in time of some particular employee, right? And we use Boolean values as well, right? These Boolean values represents the values which saying true or false. Sometimes we denote it using 1 and a 0, or sometimes we say yes or no. So the things that can be answered with that type of words, like you can ask a simple question, right? Like what is ordinary level is successfully passed? So you can answer it using a yes or a no, right? And you can say you can ask for something any do any particular what kind of a sport is being successfully taken or not, right? So it can say give yes or no, or you can ask the what the status of a particular person, married or unmarried. You can say yes or no, right? So those kind of things can be taken as the examples where we can use the Boolean type, right? So likewise, those kind of data types will be there, right? And again, when it comes to a particular data, there are particular data types which will force you to have the width, a particular certain numbers of characters inside it, right? So it is not a mandatory one. Like we can give some validation when we are applying that kind of number fields, or like the column widths with a particular column names, right? So yeah, so that those are the things that we have to learn about the data types, right? So first, let's quickly write down about the data types. Then we'll go for the manual database creation as well as the electronic one, right? Because this helps you in different in both the ways, So I don't want you to write the heading creating a simple database manually. It's better you talk about the data type directly. So have the subheading data type. This is going to be the subheading. So under that, you can write this description. Then of course you have to copy down these types of data, right? So quickly write it down, people. All right, people. If you once you're done with this, you can disconnect from the session. So I'm going to end up the today's class after this thing, right? So I will be there until every one of you are leaving. So if you're done with this, you can leave the session, people. So thank you very much. And by next week, we are starting the practical straight away, right? So finish is up, then you can leave. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a very nice day, right? Okay, Dhirendra, thank you.